Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated to individuals wanting to have a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. It's in these episodes that we actually record various insights, tips, and tricks that you can use in your business to help you have the premier accounting firm in your area, focusing on areas of your business such as marketing and sales, pricing strategies, working efficiently, and most importantly, doing things that you can in order to be the premier accounting firm in your area as a bookkeeper, accountant, tax preparer, coach, and most importantly, mentor to those business owners that you're working with. Now, with regards to today's podcast, I'm your host, Roger Knecht. I've been working with accounting professionals for more than 20 years now, helping them start and build accounting businesses. And it's in this process that I've gotten the opportunity to not only build friendships, but at the same time help people actually expand their services beyond their wildest dreams to actually offer quality accounting services to clients, helping them run their businesses more efficiently, profitably, and most importantly, grow their businesses to the point that as accounting firms, they've been able to actually make a difference in their clients' lives. So with that in mind, I'm happy to have our guest here today. It's Ken Bostrom. Ken happens to be someone I've known for years. He coincidentally works for Universal Accounting Center, and over those years has had a variety of roles. He's been a presenter for Universal, actually going and traveling around the United States, speaking with many individuals that as they're starting and building their accounting firms, attended various courses that we offered. He's been someone that, more importantly, has been involved with our students, helping them with the curriculum and the training that we're providing, ensuring that the curriculum is updated and current, and most importantly, relevant to the needs of the individuals going through the various courses that are offered. So with regards to Ken's background and experience, in fact, I can honestly say, other than the founder of the company, he is the longest running individual that's been with the business since basically 1989, so quite a few years ago. With all that in mind, Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. I'm happy to be here.
So one of the things that I think is quite interesting is how you got involved with accounting to begin with. Obviously, your father has an amazing story, but tell us about how that evolved into your love of doing books.
Well, when we started this back in '89, computers were just barely getting affordable for small businesses, not necessarily even affordable for a in-home computer, but as we were teaching accountants and bookkeepers or people how to set up their own accounting and bookkeeping service, one of the concerns was a lot of these people did not know how to use a computer, and a lot of the small businesses they were going into needed computers and needed somebody to operate them, and they needed these some basic skills in computer programs like what we used back then, WordPerfect and Lotus 1-2-3.
I remember those.
Those were precursors to Excel and Word, but they didn't have anybody training in that, and there were very few classes offered. But as we were training people to go into to others' businesses and become the accountant and bookkeeper, we needed somebody to train them. And as a snot-nosed kid, but being able to use a computer, they were starting to teach them a little bit in high school. And so I jumped in and they asked me to start teaching a few of these classes.
So what's interesting is you're right. Back at that time, computers were just coming into the business world, and for small business, that is. And at the time, you were looking at computers being introduced probably more than anything in the accounting side of things. And so it wasn't unheard of that the first individual in the office to have a computer at their desk was the office administrator, accountant type persons. And so for us as a school to be able to offer training and introduce them to WordPerfect, Lotus 1-2-3, that was kind of the thing happening at the time. But very soon thereafter, accounting software started to come on the scene. We started to see the convergence of now the computer being used by small businesses with accounting software. Some of the early softwares, in fact, I know that Universal was involved with a particular accounting software that no longer exists today, but it was one that we were teaching our students for a period of time. Do you remember which that one was, Ken?
It was called ABC Accounting Software, and it was designed, we actually helped design it to make the accounting so it was more like what you do on paper with columns and a columnar paper, so it was very easy to see. I put this on the debit side and I put this on the credit side. So it was very simple to use that way. It was all back using DOS-based computers. And so I helped in designing that and supporting that for a number of years.
Yes, it was very much visually similar to a journal and ledger type of an experience, a checkbook kind of a thing, right?
Yes.
Yep. Now, obviously, those days have passed and more of the familiar softwares now exist. Tell us about when Universal was at the time teaching both accounting and the software at the exact same time. I know one of the things that we did is we used to have courses where we were teaching the bookkeeping training, the accounting training with the software, and we started to notice that the students weren't retaining the information just because they were now becoming data entry people. Do you remember that?
Well, I can tell you that back when we started with different softwares, and especially as Windows came into play, and that's kind of where the big change was. As Windows came in, and I started using QuickBooks way back with version 2. They're now on version 2021. They skipped a few numbers in between. But with that, I can tell you that the first versions of QuickBooks I was not impressed with. And we taught another program and used another program in our business called MYOB, or Mind Your Own Business.
Yep.
And like that. And then as things changed, as Intuit came around, we started working with Intuit because it was the number one selling software in America. And so it was about version 4 that we started teaching our classes in that. And the students were not seeing the connection with the accounting software because it was, as you said, just data entry.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we started doing their accounting and training them by hand how to do the journalized accounting. And then we took those same companies and had them started doing those companies in the QuickBooks software. And that's what made a major change in how they understood and just saw the connection between the two.
You know, I think that was one of the biggest changes, beneficial changes that was made to the program, simply because we could have gone down the route of teaching accounting with the software in hand, you know, where the student actually learned using the accounting software. But we quickly realized that the better way to do it is just like you would teaching math. You want to first actually do the long addition, subtraction, multiplication, and so forth on paper, learn what the numbers are doing, the correlation, the relationship of those numbers, before you actually hand somebody the calculator and just let them kind of shortcut the process. And so what we were doing is really teaching the relationships of debits and credits and all these entries. And then all of a sudden, we were able to take those same assignments and do them in the software. And I think that's where a lot of the epiphanies or ahas were happening for the students. They understood what was happening behind the scenes within the software as it related to the accounting model. So I think there were a lot of big ahas there. Now, one of the things that I think is also helpful is with the training, there was a lot to be said with in the classroom, both individuals such as accounting professionals, CPAs, being seated next to people that were basically non-formally accounting trained people, maybe ones that had gotten jobs and had been assigned responsibilities in accounting, now getting some structured education through Universal. How did these two individuals both benefit from the same curriculum?
You know, a lot of it has to do with the fact how Universal started, where when we first started teaching the accounting curriculum, the way that we're doing now, you actually had to have a degree in accounting before you could take our training. Our training was actually based on helping those with accounting degrees that wanted to go out and work with small business owners. They were not trained at the universities how to do payroll, how to do the setup from scratch on a business. And so where my father started out was training these individuals how to work with the small businesses. Then he found that very quickly he could train somebody with no accounting experience as well right alongside. And so we would have classes, and we would often invite people in to come in and sit in for one class and see what they were learning and see how they were doing. And we would have CPAs come in, we would have non-accountants come in and sit in the same class. And at the end of that day, they were both learning new things. And that was an eye-opener to many accountants and bookkeepers saying, hey, I never understood how this all fit together this way. And they were amazed that somebody with no accounting experience would actually learn the same information at the same time.
Yeah, to have maybe the spouse of a business owner who was helping with the financials in the company attend the class and sit next to a CPA, there's a lot to be said about the person who's not been formally trained in accounting going through the curriculum while sitting next to someone who actually has the accounting credentials. And the thing that I think you said so well is oftentimes the universities are preparing people to go find employment in larger businesses where the accounting is already in place, the business model is already there, and they're stepping into a role where they're able to now just take on the accounts, let's say, and take what was already happening and just continue with it. When you're working with smaller businesses, oftentimes that's a lot different. You may be actually creating the book of business from scratch. You may be taking and recording all of the transactions and trying to make from all of that the financial reports that the business owner needs, and then delivering those and explaining those to a non-accountant. And so through the course of the bookkeeping program, obviously it was designed to help the accountant or whomever best prepare those financials, and then more importantly, help the business owner now understand what all those numbers meant. So I think that's great. Now, I'm going to go back in time here because I think this is something worth reflecting on. When I started working with Universal, obviously we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the ability to stream and watch everything online. The classes were in a traditional classroom setting. It was where you would go and basically attend a class for a number of days throughout the week. Back in that day, do you remember the times of running a class from 9 to noon and another from 6 to 9 p.m., Monday through Thursday?
And we started out Monday through Friday even, but then, so we would teach the classes and we would have the students come in and they could either come to a morning class from 9 until noon or they could come to an evening class from 6 until 9. Made it very time budget friendly for the students, and they could even switch back and forth as they needed to. Well, that's great for the students, but as a teacher, we would have to come in and get everything set up, usually coming in at 7:30 or 8 in the morning and get ready for our class. We'd take and teach our class until noon. Then during the day, we'd have to work and say, okay, what else do we need to do? Getting ready for the next class, getting ready for the next set of students coming in and advertising and everything. And then we'd teach again from 6 until 9. That made some very long days.
I remember those very long days. Well, those days are behind us. We no longer have campuses. We've closed down the 20 plus campuses that we used to have. Everything's now done online. What do you feel the online experience now offers that we couldn't provide before? What do you think has improved since then?
Well, watching the students now and working with the students and seeing when they're turning in their assignments, we have a lot of students that are working at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I see assignments being turned in. Now that 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. for Mountain Standard Time might even be 4 a.m. for Eastern. Could be they got up early. It kind of reminds me of my days when I was tried working with one of the companies that we teach actually is Stewart's Bakery. I tried to be a baker as a teenager and found out that I couldn't decide if I wanted to go out on my dates and then go to work and then go home and go to sleep, or if I wanted to try and wake up early. And I just decided I don't want to do either. But it is the timing that they work on it. They can work on it Saturdays, Sundays. They can post their questions right there in the training. And so that flexibility. And I know I'm talking to people, they say, well, I do most of this on my cell phone or I do it on my tablet. Some people are doing it on their computers. They can actually fill out the tax forms on their computer or on their cell phones if they need to. It's just that flexibility that we have with the internet of what time to do it, where to do it, and how to do it is just up to the student.
You know, one of the things that I really have benefited from with the the transition from the classroom environment to the online is back in the day when it all started is we originally recorded the classes on VHS with the intent of having a library that if a student happened to miss a day, they had something to review so they wouldn't fall behind and they could even review before the final exams. And so it was meant to originally be just a complement to the live class. And all of a sudden, we started to realize that some of the students really preferred being able to watch the class. It was a little shorter through editing than the 3 hours that they would be in class. And so time-wise, it was a little less time. They could do it conveniently later on in the day or sometime during the next day. And they started to just feel as if they were not only learning the curriculum, but enjoying it as much as they did the live class. So we had a lot of students that were at that point just saying, hey, I'm going to miss a few days this week. And they still did fine on the final exam. So I think that was an interesting aha, because it was right around that time that we started to enroll people specifically in the video courses rather than the live class. It was from the get-go that they were intending to do it all through the VHS. And those were some amazing times because of that transition that we experienced. And that ultimately did lead to, in time, closing down the campuses. But that transition from VHS to DVD, from DVD to online, the online experience has improved immensely. So it used to be the tiny little videos. Now you've got the higher quality videos that allow you to put it all the way on your screen for a full screen. Lots of changes. What are some of the big changes you recall, you reflect back on and go, wow, this has evolved quite a bit over the last few years?
Well, one of the first things is every time before the next day's lessons, we would sit down and we would print out all of the journals for each class, the receipts, the checks. We'd print them on this big copy machine on 11 by 17 paper so they could fold out the journals. And we would have to sit down and print out, okay, we've got 20 people coming to class today, so we have to print out 20 sets of the practice set that we're doing today. And so that being set up into a one book basically for the entire week, that was a big game changer when I saw it. Then as we started going in and, as you mentioned, doing the VHS and having them all go together and fit together, everything just over the years is said, okay, how can we make it easier for everyone and make it easier for the student, for the instructors as well? And so just the systemization of the process.
Now, obviously, over the years, we've added a number of classes. You mentioned before there are some that we used to teach that we no longer teach. We don't teach Lotus 1, 2, 3 anymore. We don't teach MYOB anymore. We don't teach ABC. So there's a lot of classes that aren't on the list. But now we have a lot more that I think are much more appealing. We've got the bookkeeping, we've got the tax, the QuickBooks, color accounting, the profit and growth expert. I mean, so many courses that individually help people both start and build their businesses, accelerate their careers. I know a popular one is the Job Placement Assistance Program. So here we are with all these different courses. What would you say about the evolution as to deciding what classes we offer and what is now available to the students in the accounting world?
Well, one of the biggest things that I think of right now is a mission statement that we set up many years ago. And after reading one of Stephen Covey's books, said that each business should have its own mission statement. We have a small mission statement that says to provide accounting-based products and services to maximize profitability and effectiveness with a passion to succeed, to improve ourselves and our customers, a professional image, and lead the way. And we have gone through many times and just said, in fact, I asked a question on Facebook not too long ago saying, okay, what is it the accountants and bookkeepers is you, the student, the accountant, the bookkeeper, the tax preparer, what is it that you could use to better your business, to make it easier for you, to make it easier for you to support your clients? And being able to do that and pick out some of these other classes and these set up some of these other classes has been one of the game changers, I think, in our story.
Agreed. Now, with all of our programs, they also receive coaches. They're assigned an orientation counselor, an academic coach, in many ways, in many of the programs, a business coach. They have access to a life coach. So there's a variety of people that are assisting beyond just the curriculum itself. What can you tell us about the coaches?
Oh, we have some amazing coaches, and I love working with them all the time. I look at some of these companies that are one person coming and saying, I will help everybody do everything perfect, and we're not all perfect in everything. And so the fact that we have coaches that specialize in different areas, and life coaches and accounting coaches, tax coaches, marketing coaches that all specialize, I think that gives the students the best quality that they can get as they go out and start their business, to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves.
I love that. Well said. That's one of my favorite phrases. It's a good catchphrase that we use in the business. So now the other part of this is the curriculum is updated quite regularly. There's things that we intentionally try to improve and update. Some of the most obvious would obviously be like QuickBooks or tax, just because those naturally change yearly. Tell us about the update process and some of the things that are done to ensure that the students are getting timely and very appropriate, current information.
Well, we have to look and see what the changes are and follow up and keep on top of those. So we get specialists that are specialists in the tax industry, specialists in the accounting and software, QuickBooks industries, and they let us know when changes are going. We started our tax upgrade in September. That's before any of the tax laws and changes are even known. And yet we start ours so we can get on it, and we work with our specialists, our tax preparers, and start changing forms. In fact, even in January and sometimes into February, the IRS has not even updated some of their forms. And so we have to go in and keep on top of what forms are changing and how they're doing, watching the laws change, and just having that level of expertise that our instructors have to get in and get these all done. And they need to get them done before their tax season starts too, because they actually have clientels that they have to service as soon as tax season starts.
Exactly. These people are practitioners. And so for us to ask that they help update the curriculum, we're asking them to kind of step aside from their day job, if you will, where they make their money providing these services to actually help update the curriculum. Now, with the courses, you're actually responsible for the student experience and the trainings that are available and the courses that they are able to go through. Tell us about the student experience and what advice you would have for someone going through the programs as to how to get the most out of the experience.
Well, one of the biggest things that I would advise is this is a goal. As people take on training and education, it's all for a goal. And so there should be that end picture in mind. What is it they're trying to accomplish? And one of the problems that I find over and over again with online training is life gets in the way so easily that they need to go do this or they have to go do that. My suggestion, my information that I would give is set a time to do your work. Put it on your calendar, put it in your phone, put alarms up, whatever it takes, and then do it. If somebody says, hey, let's go out and do something, I'm sorry, I have to do homework, I have to do this assignment, I need to go in and change my life. I want to change my life. I want to make more income. I want to have a bit bigger and better service. But set your schedule and stick to it.
That is some good advice. Yeah, whenever I'm speaking with people, I say at least an hour a day, no more than 2 hours a day. And doing so, you'll go through the programs very quickly. And more importantly, learn and retain the information in such a way that you'll be able to implement it. So it's no more than 1 or 2 hours. We're not looking for people to spend many, many hours a day to go through the curriculum. It's just 1 or 2 hours. And for some, it's getting up a little earlier. For some, it's staying up a little later. For others, just finding that extra hour in the day to spend the time on it. Maybe it's just during the lunch break. Either way, it's a very committable thing that you can do. Now, with the training, one of the things that I know is that you can have a number of relationships. You've been very good at going to a lot of the accounting conferences, networking, meeting a number of successful people, kind of learning from what they are doing. What can you tell us about the network of contacts and friends that you have? What do you learn from them? Why should we be attending these conferences and networking like we do?
The accounting industry has changed so much in the last 10 years and even the last 5 years that there are so many different programs available, apps available, things that can be added into your accounting software, that you need to be able to be the ones speaking as one having authority to your clients. Your clients aren't going to find out, well, I need to know how to do this better, or collect my accounts receivables better, or pay my bills better. They're not going out trying to find the answers to these. You, as the advisor to your clients, you need to be in charge and be on top of what's in the marketplace. What is there in the tools to make both your life better and your client's life better? They rely on you, and that's the best way, is to go in and be with the other accountants and bookkeepers that are trying to do the same for their clients and seeing what they're learning. So changing and exchanging knowledge.
You know, I know that this is true for you because it's something I've experienced, but when we attend these various conferences, it's always nice to have the alumni come up and recognize who we are, and more importantly, introduce themselves and say that they've gone through the trainings and kind of give us some story or background as to what they've accomplished. Have you experienced that often like I have?
Oh yes, it's very rewarding and very exciting to see the people come in and say how much they learned and how much it's helped them and helped their clients building their businesses.
Yeah, lots of good relationships have come from people just stepping up and introducing themselves. So that's been fun. So one other thing I wanted to ask is, you're obviously in a situation where you work with students and have kind of seen their successes. What success stories could you share as to individuals that have changed their circumstances for the better?
I'm going to go back to one of the newer classes that we're teaching. You mentioned it, color accounting, as it's a very basic accounting and bookkeeping course. And as non-accountants taking it, they're amazed at how easy they catch on to even things like debits and credits. There are people that struggle through colleges and universities still not understanding debits and credits, and people say, well, it's left and right, and that's not always the case, or they're just struggling. And I was teaching one of these color accounting classes to a group of individuals, and we use, instead of debits and credits, we'll use colors in there, and we actually have them doing sets of books using these colors to help understand where the money's coming from and where it's going. And after one of these classes, one of the students came up and said, I can finish my degree. I said, what? And he said, I have struggled. I have never been able to understand how the profit and loss and the balance sheet fit together, and how debits and credits. I dropped out of school because it was just too confusing to me. And now I understand it, and I can go back and finish my degree. that just changed their life right there.
I appreciate you sharing that because I do think that's what happens. A lot of people go through the various courses that are offered and they have these epiphanies. They're literally life-changing moments. And we've seen people go and get career advancements, promotions, pay increases just because of their confidence and certifications that they've received. We've seen people both start and build their accounting businesses. I remember specifically Victoria. She was someone I worked with years ago. She was wanting to go out on her own, start her business. And as Victoria was considering it, she contemplated, getting a space that she could lease in a strip mall, and she started her business. She did very, very well. And then all of a sudden she decided, you know what, rather than actually putting money into this strip mall with the lease, it's up for renewal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take those funds. We're going to put it as money as we can apply towards our mortgage for a new home, go buy a bigger and newer home, and in doing so, allocate some of the space for me to have an office at the house. And I'm not having many clients come by the space, by the office, so I don't need to have some walk-in place. And I'm more than happy to go to their offices and meet with them. So she eventually took all that money she was paying towards this space she was leasing, combined it with the money she was paying on her mortgage, got a much nicer home, and in the time got even a better office at the house that she was quite pleased with. And in the end, she was just ecstatic. She grew her business, now had more money going to the bottom line because she had less expenses in running the business. And at the end of the day, had a much more beautiful home to live in. She just won all the way around, and she was just giddy as all get out as to what it was she was able to accomplish simply because of the trainings and the support we were able to offer her. So many of those types of stories. So let me just kind of recap what it is we've been discussing and then ask Ken if there's some closing thoughts that he has. But the first thing I just wanted to share is I loved recounting the starts or origins of Universal Accounting Center. I've been here over 20 years. Ken's been here even longer. There's been so much that's changed in the 40 plus years that the company's been around. But in those changes and evolutions, we've definitely seen our attention to the accounting profession being addressed. We've been able to adapt and mold the different classes and curriculums to the needs of the accounting professional, whether it's perfecting the role of the accountant, whether it's getting a new job or position in a company, whether it's starting or building the accounting business, training staff. All of those things have been accomplished through the various evolutions and courses offered by Universal. I loved how Ken was able to share how things have improved, how there's an attention to the detail of the curriculum to make sure that it's timely and appropriate. And lastly, that this really is kind of a nice, if nothing else, relationship type community of alumni that we've built up over the years, where Ken and I have had the privilege of getting to know so many individuals such that when we travel, go to a conference and such, we have them coming up, introducing themselves. And that's just always a pleasure and a joy to be able to meet those people that have really accomplished so much in their lives, beginning with Universal Accounting. So, Ken, do you have any final thoughts of what you'd like to add?
I'll tell you, it's just to see the people get it, to see that aha moment is what I've loved the most. I've been able to see that over and over again, where they've just been struggling and something comes in and that they just get it. And that's kind of the thing that's kept me teaching as long as it has, is I just love to see that expression, to say, hey, this now makes sense. And that's what I love about all this.
I'd have to agree with you, Ken. There is a reward beyond just teaching. It's actually seeing those ahas and seeing the lights turn on for so many people, just making their lives so much easier. So with that in mind, let me just kind of wrap this up by inviting each of you that are listening to subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you listen to the other episodes. There are other episodes where we talk to the experts and share tips and tricks of things that you can be doing to not only have the premier accounting business in your area, but have the confidence you need, whether it be you or your staff, to offer the quality accounting services that are necessary. With that in mind, I also invite you, if you would like to apply these principles or learn more about the programs offered by Universal, to visit us at universalaccountingschool.com. And you can also give us a phone call. Happy to speak with you, learn a little bit more about your current situation, your experience and background, and the goals that you have. You can give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And with that, always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is Universal. Take care and have a great day.